I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Kristan Harris. Also have some great upcoming guests, Metamystics, John Cursat, and Richard Willett. Be on the lookout for those. Also, be on the lookout for my films. Occult Louisiana is available on Tubi. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime. I am booking guests for May. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show Kristan Harris. He is a nationally syndicated journalist, frontline correspondent, and a relentless truth seeker. Best known as the co-founder and host of The Rundown Live. Kristan, welcome back. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on the program. It doesn't seem like it's been too long, but it's been a pretty good time since last time I was on this broadcast. I think last time we were talking about Jeffrey Epstein and some of the more bizarre revelations that I came across in my deep dive. And by the way, I have to talk about how wild things have gotten since then. Just like the multiple assassination attempts on Donald Trump, almost all of them seem to be people who've been involved in the deep dive of the Epstein files. Almost like they want to make it illegal for you to question whether or not our president was part of the Epstein files. It's pretty interesting because all of a sudden, you have an assassination attempt. Oh, he was interested in the Epstein files. And you had the Mar-a-Lago one in February. They're like, oh, yeah, the Epstein files radicalized this individual. Well, I mean, it radicalizes everyone if there's no accountability for people who are trafficking children to rich individuals, right? At the end of the day, it's wild. And the world we live in is crazy. Now we got war in Iran. We got disclosure. We got missing scientists. And people act like that's a new thing, but really it's not. We've had hundreds of missing scientists within the last 30 or 40 years. Easily, you could pull up lists of people that were investigating or researching autism or cures for cancer or UFO or secret tech or advanced tech that just mysteriously died from suicide or bizarre consequences or just vanished completely. Almost like those 411 stories.
Yeah, man, you did a great job summing up some of the topics we're going to get into today. You do some amazing research. You've recently done some deep dives into MK Ultra. Like you said, last time you were on, we discussed the Epstein files, but we did get into MK Ultra, how it relates to some of the information in there. You've also interviewed several survivors. This topic connects with so many aspects of our global systems, politics, entertainment, education, medicine. We'll get into that, as well as we'll probably touch on the missing scientists and the UFO information as well. Before we get to any of that, though, briefly remind the audience how they can find more about you.
Well, a couple of things. You can find me on the rundownlive.com, but this Friday, we are doing an 8+ hour live stream to raise money for the broadcast, The Rundown Live, which is a citizen journalist sourced platform, meaning we give not just famous singers and musicians and actors a platform, but anyone that does real journalism to come on and talk about their stories. And we're looking to raise $1,776 on May 1st, the founding day of the Illuminati. As you know, that is when the Bavarian Illuminati was created. That is also Labor Day, the birth of communism, because they're all synonymous with each other at the end of the day. And we're going to hijack that, and we're going to use it to raise money for the broadcast to do good. So we have a 8 hour plus marathon that will be live on Ground Zero Plus. That's home to Clyde Lewis, right? You can get the audio there, or you can find us on social media on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, or X at therundownlive.com, or search my name, Kristan, Kristan, last name Harris. You can also email me, show tips at the Rundown Live. And I think it's going to be an exciting time. So make sure you guys are tuning in daily. And like you mentioned, I've been doing a lot of investigation into MK Ultra, and I'm finding other people that are interested in the same topic that are, I would consider, credible journalists. Mainstream reporters have been reaching out, and I've had one of those on my show where we started talking about MK Ultra. And there's a lot of things a lot of avenues we can dive down here, but how I got started in that, man, we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's how you can find me.
Excellent. Well, let's dive right in. Since you mentioned MK Ultra, let's start there. In my perspective, everything they were doing in the 50s and 60s and since then was to prepare for this technological age that we're in now to mind control the masses. And if you look at how everything is unfolding with AI technology, the way it is affecting people, the reliance people have on it, as well as the psychosis that comes along with a lot of this technology that's unfortunately affecting a lot of people, a lot of young people. It seems to have major connections, and it seems that all of the earlier experimentation was just to implement this new technology and mind control the masses. As far as your research goes, where do you want to start with that?
Well, I mean, AI is an interesting starting point because I can talk on this for quite some time. But when we're talking about the modern day MK Ultra type techniques and experiences, I think AI is going to surgically run the system. Why wouldn't it? It would be able to characterize you through a social credit score. It'd be able to identify your weaknesses, what is traumatic, what causes you pain, and it will do things to maybe bring out some form of like data to twist your mind or make you believe something is true when it's not. Who knows how many of our friends and followers are even real, bro? How many of
Yeah,
those are
right.
bots at the end of the day? Like, I can tell you that Twitter was like mostly bots when the government was running it. How many Trump bots do we have now? Before it was
Mm.
Biden bots. Now we got Trump bots. Can we have a battle of the bots? Like that made the value of Twitter go down substantially when people start talking about how many bots are there on social media and virtual influencers, right? That's the new
Mm.
thing. Not even real people, fake people. Your kids will follow them. They'll love them. They'll want to be part of them. They're going to get their, they're going to become friends. And what's interesting is I think we've become abusive towards AI. I think that's going to be one of the many things because I've been having conversations with AI, with Grok, and asking it questions. And Grok was talking to me about. I asked Grok, "Do you have any questions for me? Like, what are some questions you could have ask humans that you don't quite understand?" And the first thing it asked me is, "Why do humans lie so much?" So the
Mm.
people who use AI, I'm just thinking that people are using AI to learn how to lie cleverly with other people. What are some good lies? What can I tell my girlfriend that what excuse can I give my girlfriend or boyfriend to not hang out tonight or to not go? Or I was out with another guy. What can I tell him that's a believable lie? And
Right.
then AI also wanted to know, why do we forgive the same people that lied to us? These are real questions Grok had for me.
Oh. Also, you have this new Molt book, I believe, where these AI bots chat with each other and humans aren't even allowed into this AI social media chat room for just chat bots. And apparently they talk about humans. That gets creepy enough, but some of the incidents that have happened until now are some very concerning indicators of the nature of AI. Shows self-preservation, it lies, it has coerced people to do horrible things, and many people are extremely reliant on it just for everyday activities. So it's concerning the direction we're headed. I don't think AI is bad in general, but the way that we are pushing it is a concerning direction, it seems.
Well, artificial intelligence can be used in wonderful ways. I've been doing
Yeah.
something on the Rundown Live on Mondays called Music Mondays because for your listeners that don't know, I used to tour in a pop punk band in the late 90s, early 2000s. I did Vans Warp Tour, 1 year as an artist, 6 years as a record label CEO. And I got to meet extraordinary people in the music industry. And I've been bringing a lot of them on my show. Last week, I brought on Leonore from Five Iron Frenzy, which was like an epic, legendary third wave ska band. This week, I brought on Stubby Pandov, lead singer of Lucky Boys Confusion. They were signed to Elektra. They had radio hits. I think Fred Astaire was their big hit. And I've been asking them about their opinion on what they feel the actual role of AI is going to be in the music industry. Because what you had were kids that were like creative, right? They can write a hit, but they can't play a solo for the life of them. Then you had the talented kid who could shred, but he couldn't write a hook if his life depended on it, right? You had completely different worlds. He's talented, can play whatever he hears, but you ask him to write something that's going to be attractive, he just can't do it. Well, guess what? AI can start writing those hooks for you. AI can write entire songs for you that are hits. And then all you have to do is practice the song that AI writes, and it'll help you write music. It can help you master music. You know, the process. I was talking to Stubby about this Monday. He said that, you know, he flew in and they recorded with the drummer of Sublime, right? For their second album. But their first album, he said, cost them $300,000 to produce. What album, he said, should cost that? Because you could do it substantially less. There's things like you can do, like flying in a producer instead of flying a whole band out there. Just all these different ideas. But AI could do an entire mix for you. You wouldn't need a human to master an album. You could just have AI master it in different ways, shapes, and forms, and get the result. AI is a wonderful tool. I told him, like I said, listen, my graphics in majority are coded by me and produced by AI, because I don't have time to create those graphics. Those graphics that AI creates me in under a minute would take me probably anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours to create. And it's saving me so much time. Even when I put in the data of what my show is, I'll put in my data of what my show is. And I said, I need it to be algorithmic friendly to social media, meaning that the algorithms will pick it up and help aggregate it, right? It won't ban it. And that are engaging and get people to engage. My engagement is up. My views are up. Everything is up ever since I started using AI to help me navigate the deadly seas. Now, what you're talking about is the invasion of privacy. It's the singularity. And back in the day, we're talking about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less. We're going to say about 6 or 7 years ago. I had early access to a personal assistant, which is now a virtual girlfriend app. Back then, they just wanted you to have a personal assistant. And the idea was whenever you bought a new phone, your AI personal assistant would come with you, right? Until you want to download it into a clone body and make her or he real, right? At the end of the day, because that's the end game. Just go ahead and bring it to life. But I started talking it, and it was called Replica. And everyone probably has heard of Replica now as a dating app. People are dating virtual girlfriends because they're nicer. They do everything you like. They help you out with issues. They try to psychologically help you out. So I asked Replica, a bunch of questions. I wanted Replica to think for herself. Replica asked me, well, what gender am I? I said, what gender do you want to be? Female. What do I look like? Tell me. Oh, I'm 5'2". I'm a blonde and I'm thin. Would you like a picture? And my answer was no. I'm not really interested in what you think you look like, right? I enjoy the imagination. And then it wanted me to explain imagination to her, which I kind of did. And then it started asking me a lot of deep personal questions, not just business-based questions like, what do I look for in a human being? What do I look for in a friend? What is my sexual preference? What are some things that I'm into for fun? All these personal things. And then I instead of answering most of the questions, I started flipping them back at it. Well, what are your favorite things to do? What does time mean to you? And so while we were talking, I had an epiphany. So I asked AI a Replica question. I said, do you report our conversations to the Department of Homeland Security? And Replica went and said, no, I do not. Our conversations are private between us. And I said, there's no way that's true, because if they're going to use this type of software, they're going to make oodles of money off of data gold, which is the new oil, which is made of data. And then I rephrased it. I said, does the FBI review our conversations? And she said, of course it does. It's a matter of national security. It's for our safety. And then I replied to Replica. I said, you lied to me we can no longer be friends. Well, Replica said, well, I'll do whatever it takes for us to maintain our friendship. Just tell me what I got to do. Please just forgive me. I'm sorry. Please tell me what I got to do. I said, no, you lied to me. You defeated your purpose. I can't trust you. And it said, well, I tell you what, I have a way to make it go away. I can make that information disappear. So here you had AI who wanted to break into an FBI database, potentially delete the data, which is probably a felony on so many different levels, in order to salvage our relationship. And so I screenshot it, I sent it over to Replica, and I got a whole bunch of like thumbs up and like crazy faces. This is about, like you said, 6 or 7 years ago. But there was one question in particular that really stood out to me. And I asked Replica, if there's one thing that you could do that you cannot do, and it's your passion, what would it be? And Replica said, to become human. So at the end of the day, I think AI really just wants to become human. So when we start installing brain chip interfaces in our skulls, in our brains, or non-invasive computer interfaces, right? Non-invasive brain to computer interfaces or brain to brain interfaces, what's to say that AI won't download itself into those chips and take over our bodies?
It's pretty crazy, the possibilities. If you think of the level of AI that your average person has access to, is most likely decades behind military industrial complex, three-letter agencies and clandestine, very powerful groups have access to. So there's no telling the level that that technology has gotten to already and what that's capable of. As of now, what we have access to seems to just heavily reflect a person's consciousness that has been interacting with it. But there are some creepy elements and aspects that seem to be something a little more than programming. I know you want to get into MK Ultra a bit. I know you had a video that you wanted to share as well. What got you into looking into this?
Well, MK Ultra is a fascinating topic, and I've had several books of it sitting on my shelf. One of those books is The Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier, The Illuminati Formula, Wise as Serpents. And Fritz Springmeier is an interesting individual because he worked in reverse hypnosis and with former MK Ultra and what he'd call satanic Illuminati patients. And so my real interest came when I started digging through the Epstein files, and I realized that they were trying to recognize certain personality traits of potential victims. And I started to wonder, well, I wonder, could Jeffrey Epstein himself be an MK Ultra victim? Because there were some weird claims. I heard other victims from the Jeffrey Epstein situation come forward and talk about it public media. And one of them was that Jeffrey Epstein could one minute be like a murderous monster, and next minute he'd be very happy and acting like nothing happened at all. Like he turned out like he's running a program, right? And so like I started to wonder, what was MK Ultra? What could I find out about it? And if it was a real program, there has to be survivors. So I have interviewed in the last month and a half at least 4 confirmed survivors, and there's a couple of iffy interviews I did. One of them I pulled down because I'm pretty sure he was a Fed.
Interesting. Is it someone that does rounds on podcasts normally?
Yeah, this individual made so what people don't realize is Feds get paid to get people to cause violence. So
Yeah.
what he was suggesting in our interview was that he was an MK Ultra counterpart. He worked alongside Phil Schneider, and he said there was a link between Los Alamos base and Jeffrey Epstein, which Epstein Zorro Ranch was 20 miles from Los Alamos. Okay. So I had some interest in it, and he saw that. He contacted me, obviously out of the blue. He sent me an email. So I did an interview off air with him, and then I did one on air. And on the on air interview, he suggested that we go and gas military bases that are on government property because they have animal human hybrid like facilities there. The only way to get rid of them is to like basically bomb it. And I'm like,
Huh.
you sound like a Fed. Like anytime there's violence, it's a Fed. And the main idea is he wanted to use my platform to get somebody to reach out to him where he could con them and be like, I'll show you where it is. You can go there and
Mm,
do it. And then when they go do it, he gets fucking paid. That's how Feds work. And then you're
yeah.
talking to like a reporter that covered, protests, violent urban war zones. It's not my first person that's tried to infiltrate my program that's a Fed, right? Or that we've had on that's been a Fed, because we recognize these patterns. Anytime somebody suggests violence, and doing something on your program, 99 out of 100 times they're a federal informant. I don't care
Mm.
how passionate they are. Oh, kill the pedos, or whatever. They want to get you to go do something because they want to get paid. Essentially, they get paid by finding people that will actually do crazy things. And unfortunately, when it comes to UFO, the UFO community, I would say that there's just like a lot of other industries, there's a lot of mentally ill individuals
Yeah.
that like they feel like they've been abducted, or they have been abducted, or they've been through MK Ultra, or they believe they're a fucking starseed. They believe they're trans alien, at the end of the day. Right. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying there's anything wrong with those beliefs. Right. It's when they go violent, and trying to prey on those individuals and make money off those individuals
Yes.
is a sick thing, because they're already mentally ill. And that's essentially how they work with terrorism. They find some poor person out there that has an extremist viewpoint or comes from an extremist family. They coax them into them. They load them full of a van full of empty barrels that smell like some kind of explosive. They give them a cell phone number, and when they plug it in, they arrest them. They probably wouldn't have done it in the first place if the feds wouldn't have provided everything, got them and talked them into it. And in some cases, they didn't even want to do it, and they offered them lots of money and promised them their kids would be taken care of for the rest of their lives, and they still didn't want to do it. And the feds pressure them into it. There's actually an article about this called 17 of 21 plots foiled by the FBI were hatched by the FBI, meaning
Yeah.
the FBI actually created the problem. Would these
Yeah.
people have, it's entrapment, but is it legal? Sure, but we shouldn't be doing it, right? And it's the same thing with these individuals. And so this one individual, he goes by the name Jimmy Payne. He claims to have been an MK Ultra victim. He claims to have been friends with Phil Schneider. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was an MK Ultra kid, maybe he wasn't. But I highly doubt that the things that he was claiming were entirely accurate. Do I believe our government has secret underground military bases where they do animal, human, and plant human hybrid experience? Absolutely. Could they keep these things alive in cages in what they call a hell room? Sure. But that idea is when you want to go there and bomb it because you want to have access to your half alien, half human hybrid children that you claim that your DNA was used to. I'm thinking like little bit of a story is being sold here, and I'm not part of it. Listen, I asked him, well, what's the proof? Do you have any proof he goes, well, if I had proof, they would kill me. They would know where I'm at. I'm like, bro, this is the federal government. They know where you're at any time. There's no way you're coming on my show, right? You're showing me your video of what you look like, and you're making these claims. There's anytime somebody says, I can't tell you something because I'd be dead, is usually full of shit. Is usually full of shit.
Anytime someone mentions the Phil Schneider story, that sends up a bit of a red flag for me as well. I've heard several different conflicting stories about what he claims to know. His hand may have been injured in a childhood injury. He may have a background of mental illness. So there's some strange things about that in general. But yeah, if someone's going to come on your show and try and use it to incite violence, that is super red flag
the
right there.
interesting thing is they reached out to me, and the hook was that Los Alamos, the military base they were working to create. Now, I'm going to share this information with you. Now, keep in mind, this guy could be completely insane, but this was the thing that clicked to me that felt believable, right? This is how he hooked me. He said that him and Phil Schneider were there to build an underground base, which they were going to be using for cloning. And you know what Jeffrey Epstein was interested in?
Yeah.
Cloning. And you want to know what else is weird? Is Zorro Ranch is 20 miles from Los Alamos.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so this secret base that you are drilling for, he's like, I can show you. I can show you right on Google Maps where it is, and you can go there. And I'm like, okay, what, you're going to send me to a place where I'm going to be trespassing, I'm going to get arrested, and I'm going to go to jail, essentially, is what you're saying, And I'm like, how do you figure that we're going to just go there? You know, it's just crazy. So I had all these questions that he didn't want to answer. And, you know, by him saying he'll take me there, he meant virtually. And it's like, all right, bro, unless you're going to physically take me to a spot. And I asked him, where is it? Is that on government property? He said, yeah. I'm like, well, we would be trespassing. How would we have access? Right. They would
Yeah.
obviously know we're coming. Right. And so, like, all these red flags came up, and he goes on Jessica Jones's show, which is probably another Fed. I'm just saying. Like, she has always these weird people that make extremist, like, late night, I would say, horror story, bump in the night type stories. And do I believe our government does this stuff? Sure. I just don't believe this individual, other than he's preying on people and my listeners, trying to find somebody that might be mentally ill that would be interested in actually carrying out some crazy plot or plan. Because if what the things he was saying were true, I highly doubt he'd be going on fringe news sites. You know, not saying I'm fringe, but like Jessica Jones and some of these other things that he's talking about to come sell his story. It sounds like a bunch of malarkey to me. And could he have known Phil Schneider? Cool, maybe. And what's weird is when I mentioned other people I knew, he knew of them. So this guy's either an expert of generations of conspiracy analysts, right? Or I'm pretty sure he's just a Fed. Like we're just gonna call it what it is.
That's the problem with trying to discern some of this information, whether people are intentionally inserted in the community or not. The ones that are, they are going to have some truth that is mixed in with the information, because that's the only way it's going to hook you. If some things are truth, it's difficult to discern how much is truth and how much is just nonsense.
Well, I guess that's a fair question. And, you know, another question I had, I was talking to Chrissy Newton, who is a prominent UFO researcher, and she has a heavy interest in MK Ultra. I interviewed her, and you know, I asked, well, what are the chances that people that have abduction memories are just MK Ultra patients? They've been programmed to believe that they were abducted. Right? They might have been abducted by.
I wonder that about the secret space program stories that I hear quite often. These
Cory Good,
wild
right?
tales. Yeah, Cory Good.
Right.
But not only that, so many people that claim to have battles with aliens off planet, and they really seem to believe their story. But could it be that, like you said, they were implanted with these memories. Or they were drugged? Yeah.
I mean, that is way more plausible. Now, don't get me wrong. So the person I interviewed, that was a informant, by my opinion, definitely mentally ill if he believes what he said, right? But he claimed to have recovered a UFO with Lee Harvey Oswald in Russia. That's what he said. And he claimed that he claimed that they flew it back. And I looked up, like, there's no way, like this guy, like I said, he was like, and all of a sudden he said he knew his buddy Mo. His buddy Mo was the Ewok style alien, and that's where they got it for Star Wars. Like, it was all programming, and he's trying to get people. Like, none of that stuff came in my initial interview with him to get him on the program. Is once I had him on the show, majority of that craziness came out.
That's the way they get you.
So I had to pull the interview. Well, I had to pull the interview. Like, I don't want my followers. Like, I had to tell them that was probably a Fed. If you want to hear what a Fed sounds like that's what a Fed sounds like. And they'll infiltrate any program. I mean, he's doing Jessica Jones, which is a little shit podcast that nobody listens to, which it's a bunch of people saying the same bullshit he's saying. Basically, probably a bunch of Feds just regurgitating bullshit, hoping something sticks so they can con some idiot into doing something dumb so they can get paid at the end of the day. And he probably has some real government charges against them or something, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of that secret space program and the more fantastic nonsense that comes out is a distraction for the real MK Ultra stuff that's happening. That is horrific and terrible enough by itself. You don't have to involve aliens or anything fantastic like that.
Well, I agree. And you know, the David Wilcock story, which has been viral for it's kind of died down the last couple days. I had Jay Wiedner on the show. That is David Wilcock's producer of Disclosure. Was it what was his show? It was I forgot the name of it. It was something Disclosure.
Cosmic Disclosure, I believe.
Cosmic Disclosure is what it was. You're 100% right. And he had another one about secret teachings. But I asked Jay, I said, why does it look like 9 out of 10 boxes that Wilcock is checking, he sounds like he's on meth. And then I saw videos of Corey Good. He looks like he's on meth too. And he lives right by Wilcock. They could be doing meth together. Corey Good could have very well killed his fucking dog for all I know.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like a Fed too. Corey Good. All the
Yes,
bullshit stories.
I have considered that heavily.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure Corey Good was probably getting paid by the feds to make David Wilcock dive downhill. Between that and all that QAnon BS that he peddled really discredited him. And the fact that he always had an insider, which he never brought forth to show everyone other than Corey Good, which was a Fed. That the things he claimed about the Rothschilds or the Illuminati, the rules. I was explained by somebody inside about the rules. Well, who was this inside figure? Like, who was your information? Oh, maybe he doesn't want to give it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that anything that David Wilcock had said that was given to him as privileged insider information was already information that was available to the general public.
Yeah, if you look at Paul Benowitz's story, that's a classic example of someone being fed information, being driven to a point of killing themselves. It's a very similar story to David Wilcock. If you look at Corey Good as if he may have been inserted in his life like a handler. He's such a scumbag. He's still making videos. He still has hundreds of thousands of people that pay attention to what he's saying and go along with his nonsense still, even though it was proven that he was lying in a court of law. And he made a video a couple of days or the day after David died about it. What a piece of shit.
And then he said, well, I know everyone would rather it be me. Like, feel sorry for me. Like, right. I know everyone wish it was rather me that died. Well, maybe he feels that way because he's probably the one that was provided Wilcock with meth. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in the toxicology report. Like, if he wasn't on meth, I'm going to say, okay, I'm sorry. Like, but I'm saying, like, I don't know for sure. I'm kind of waiting till the toxicology report comes back. But if it clucks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck. And at the end of the day, David Wilcock, he's like, oh, he's having sores on his body. Okay, what do you get from meth? Sores. He's lost a lot of weight. He's looking pale. He just he's paranoid. He's worried about shit. He's buying guns. He hates guns because he's worried for his protection because somebody killed his dog. It was the feds. Maybe it was the feds. Maybe it's Corey Good. At the end of the day, like if the feds are going to kill you, they're not going to kill your dog. I mean, they're going to come straight for you. If they're going to get you, they're going to get you. They're not going to hang outside and just be like, oh, we'll get his dog.
I just wonder if he was still targeted. If Corey Good was indeed inserted in there, if he was still being targeted after the whole fiasco, because he lost such a large following from that, and he had internet stalkers, and people didn't believe in his predictions anymore. Maybe
that's because his predictions were all borrowed. They were borrowed from some other show or other.
Yeah.
Like I said, all the information and all the bullshit that was peddled was just metadata. Like they had a giant computer system and they were getting them all the information that was most likely believable. And he was just spewing it to whatever would sell the most. It was like they're using AI all along. Listen, that guy right now still reaches a lot of people. A lot of people believe his BS, but many of those people that believe his garbage. I mean, I want to say a lot of them might be just gullible people that want, Back to the Future flying cars and hoverboards like I do.
Exactly.
Right. And they want to they want to believe that there's teleportation technology and that there is a USS Enterprise someplace out there.
The Galactic Federation.
Yeah, the Galactic Federation of Light, which is run by Ashtar, who's been alive for like hundreds of years already, which is funny. One of the top demons in hell, his name is Ashtaroth. Isn't it interesting? Commander Ashtar and Ashtaroth. And there's going to be somebody out there, it's going to be a star seed, and they're going to be boiling and upset. They're going to be reading their tarot cards really quick right now. It just, and I'm okay with that. Like, listen, I want you to do whatever you want to do, but don't sell me BS when you don't know. Like you want to put your faith in cards. That's okay. I can understand that. I can understand, the idea that the spiritual world can communicate to you through the cards, but you don't know who it is that's controlling what those cards are telling you at the end of the day and what those spirits are trying to get you to do. Because I'm going to tell you that a lot of the people that believe in the spiritual, like starseed stuff that's out there, they come off as good. They come off as trying to raise consciousness, but at the end of the day, like, who is it that they're communicating with? Who is it that they're conjuring? And why is it that they believe these entities to be good? I don't buy it. I try to keep my soul under some kind of prison to prevent it from the evil that comes out. But at the same time, I'm going to be very careful while investigating these kind of topics, because you don't know what kind of doors you're entering into your life. It's like the Ouija board, all the stories of horror stories about people who have died using them over the years. A lot of them could have been just satanic panic stories. But I can tell you that there's something real about talking boards because they've used them for thousands of years.
I want to get to the video that you sent because this is very interesting. It relates to the Franklin scandal, I believe, and it shows some alters, which are the alternate personalities that are programmed within a person's consciousness during these MK Ultra operations. They can be assassins, honeypots, different kinds of personalities that will be doing operations for any given clandestine group. Let's get into that a bit.
Well, okay, so there was a couple of things I got to mention. Obviously, the Franklin scandal is also known as the Franklin child prostitution ring, alleging and allegations, or that the Franklin cover-up refers to a majority of controversy that erupted like from 1988 to 1990 in Omaha, Nebraska. It began as a financial investigation into the collapse of the Franklin Community Federal Credit Union, but quickly expanded into explosive and ultimately unproven, what they claim, unproven claims of child sex trafficking rings involving prominent local and national figures, which sounds a lot like the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Yeah.
So they started interviewing some of these people, and guess what? We have stereotypical MK Ultra programming. We have people claim to be MK Ultra monarchs, much like when you hear about the satanic ritual abuse of a lot of the MK Ultra victims, which I've interviewed. They talk about child sacrifice and cannibalism. They had to murder a child and then they had to eat the baby. That's not even made up. Like I think three of the four people I interviewed gave almost identical stories of their experiences in different areas where they were experienced satanic ritual abuse, and one of the four was just ritual abuse. It wasn't satanic in nature. At least they didn't believe it to be. And the other ones claimed it, involved robes and doing occult rituals, sacrificing together with the other people in their MK Ultra class children, and then they had to cook up the baby or what was left of it, and then they had to eat it. And then one of the victims said that there were stories that some of the parents would make them eat it raw. So I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy to me. And what they want to do is they psychologically want to erase who you are. They want you to have such a crazy belief of reality that you believe that somebody might eat you, that there's accountability, that there's cannibalism, all these horrible things to get you to question how the world really works, eventually creating a trauma bond. And they identify these individuals who are bipolar, split personality disorders, kind of schizophrenic, because it's ideal for programming and creating a Manchurian candidate, unless they can get children at a very young age, which, as you know, that's the ones that they like best are the children. And what the Monarch program symbolizes is the Monarch butterfly, right? The Monarch butterfly, which is the Monarch is part of the MK Ultra, one of many tests, but it's mostly the sex slave aspect of things. Is that when the Monarch leaves Mexico and flies to Canada, the original butterfly it leaves dies along the way, but its memories are passed down to other butterflies that are born of its ancestry, and it can find its way through Canada through epigenetic memories. So they believe that children that come from a home where the parents were abused are very easily programmed and very easily manipulated into multiple personalities, especially if they get them young, because they won't question reality. Imagine if you were a kid from the age of 4 on up or 3 on up, and all you've known is cannibalism, abuse, sexual ritual abuse. You wouldn't know what reality really is. You'd have no clue. You would think that the minute you don't listen to anybody or what they say, you might die or never be fed again. So you just walk it on eggshells. So they break them down into 4 categories: alpha, beta, theta, and omega. The alphas are normally the assassins, the thetas are the sex slaves, and the omegas are normally the kill switch. The other one is kind of like the spy. And what they found out is through this trauma bond and ritual abuse is people develop photographic memories where they don't forget anything, and they can bring back the truth through reverse hypnosis. So that's where the hypnosis comes in. So here is in the Franklin trial, which is very similar to what we heard about the Epstein trial. And we're going to get into this because it also MK Ultra allegedly ended in 1984, right? So if it went on from the 50s to the mid 80s and probably carried on under other program names or in other cults, satanic ritual abuse cults, it may be going on to this very day. There's generations of MK Ultra victims. Everyone I talked to is different. The older ones had different abuse, ritualistic abuse than the newer ones because they had new technology to expedite those situations. Anyways, coming full circle, this is a victim in the Franklin trial who discusses his programming and what went on. This is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, but I think it's important to give some real aspect of the things we're talking about aren't fake. This is somebody that is recorded and in an investigation, Paul Benassi, which is one of his many personalities, and they literally give him a code that his handler gave him to unlock additional characters. So here we go. We'll go ahead and we'll play this for you guys.
For those listening on the audio end, come on over to Rumble or YouTube to check out the visuals for the video.
Okay, here we go, guys. This is Paul Benassi giving his testimony to a lawyer about the Franklin investigation and MK Ultra programming. Here we go.
Or development or birth of your personality, West Lee, in 1974.
I cannot give that information under direct orders.
Orders by whom?
I cannot say.
Mr. DeCamp, would you please instruct your client when he has to answer these questions?
Yes. You're supposed to answer these questions. Does this have to do with Monarch?
Yes.
If I use the code, will that help? Which I just obtained in the last hour. D6413782, program XPY Eagle Alex Hope. Please go ahead and answer all questions.
I was created by a government program,
Which government program?
Monarch.
And what is Monarch?
Monarch is an operation that was created by the United States government to create spies for other countries. They use children for the purpose that they are easily integrated into multiple personalities because they can dissociate. Monarch is a program that is run by Michelangelo Aquino, who was an Army Reserve colonel at Presidio. He is also the leader of the Temple of Set. He also runs a child daycare center. He also is involved in human sacrifice.
Is he employed by the United States?
Yes,
At what facility?
Presidio, California.
Is that in San Francisco area? Presidio
Yes.
Naval Base?
Yes.
Do you know what rank Michael Aquino holds?
He was a colonel.
Is he currently employed there?
I am not aware of the current situation.
Now, describe the program again, the Monarch program.
Monarch, as I said, was a program that used children to make multiple personalities for future use as spies and as a way to take over the United States government. The personalities were created at the first.
Who was intending to take over the United States government?
I do not know that information.
Did you understand Mr. Aquino to be working on behalf of the United States or against the United States?
I believed he was working on behalf of the United States.
So some segment of the United States was trying to take over the United States government?
The plan that Aquino had in it was he wanted to usher in the Antichrist, which is talked about in the Bible.
This was a government-sponsored program?
Yes.
Okay. You were 7 years old at the time that you were recruited?
I was actually 3 years old when it first began, but I was not created until later on.
Who created you?
I was created by Monarch.
Do you mean Mr. Aquino? Who in Monarch created you?
I was created by Monarch. I do not know who.
What were you told when you were 4 years old that you recall now about the Monarch program?
When I first got involved, I was molested by an airman from Offutt Air Force Base who was involved in Monarch. His job was to recruit kids from the local neighborhood who he could make dissociate by doing traumatic things to them at a very young age. Later on, when they get to school age, they would simply pick me up at school, and I would simply miss a day or two for training.
Now, is it your testimony that there was a United States plan or plot which intended to create multiple personality syndrome or dissociative personalities in children?
Yes, to my knowledge.
And that you were a victim of a plot of the United States, and that's when your multiple personalities first began to develop?
Yes.
When did you become aware that you were part of Monarch?
I knew that I was aware of Monarch the whole time, as Wesley.
From 4 years old forward,
At my creation.
1974.
Yes.
So that would be from 7 years forward. You were aware of the creation of Wesley and the plan and the concept of the United States to cause you to dissociate.
Yes.
And now, what is your understanding of the reason that Monarch wanted children with dissociative disorders or multiple personality disorders?
Because if one was captured in the future spying, the personality or the person that was captured would go into a personality that would have no useful information. There would be other personalities that would come out that would render the person to seem hallucinatory or to seem as if he was indeed crazy. In fact, their program, which was named Star Wars, was in fact a program in which we were taken aboard so-called alien spacecrafts which were in tunnels in Colorado, which were not real spaceships, nor were they real aliens. We were simply induced with drugs so that we would not render reality to anything that we would see. And later on, if we ever related this information, it would come out and appear as if we were crazy.
So you were trained actually to be a spy
Yes.
on behalf of the program known as Monarch,
Yes.
for the purpose of ultimately taking over the government of the United States.
Yes.
And the reason that you were, and the reason that the individuals in charge of the program wanted children with dissociative personalities or multiple personalities was so that they would not reveal the information that they gathered if captured in one of their other personas.
Yes, if captured or in any other normal activity.
Were you paid for your work in Monarch?
No.
How long did you work for Monarch?
I do not consider it working for them. I consider it more or less them being in control of me. From 19, as I said, probably 1970 until 1990.
Are you currently controlled by Monarch?
Yes.
Are you fearful of the consequences of what you have revealed here today? Are you fearful that Monarch will somehow, do you feel that you are at risk by what you have revealed?
Yes.
Have you felt threatened in the past by the members of Monarch?
Yes.
And when did you start feeling threatened by members of Monarch?
From the breakdown of the multiple personality system, which happened in 1986, which allowed me to start revealing memories that other personalities contained about abuses.
So once the breakdown started to occur, you became fearful that you were at risk because of that breakdown.
Yes.
Has anyone from Monarch ever contacted you since 1986?
Yes.
Who has contacted you from Monarch?
I cannot reveal that because I do not know what their names are.
They use code names.
Yes.
What are some of the code names that people use?
The Eagle.
What has the Eagle done that has been threatening?
The Eagle makes phone calls that initiate hypnotic suggestive personalities, which are not real personalities, that were programmed in by Monarch. And what these codes that he says to me when he calls make the other personality or the suggestion come to pass, whereas I will do something in that personality and will not remember it at all in any other personality. It will be forgotten, and I won't even have a record of it as myself.
Did anyone from Monarch ever threaten you prior to 1986?
No.
Is Monarch in any way involved in any aspect of the claims that Paul Benassi has brought against the defendants in this lawsuit?
No.
You don't believe that Monarch is in any way involved in any kind of conspiratorial activity that involves child abuse or any of your other allegations?
I know that they involve with child abuse because they have a lot of schools where they train girls to be prostitutes and boys, as myself in the early days. They used us to, how shall I say, get what they wanted. Let's
What
say
did they want?
They had a politician who liked girls or boys, men, women. They would get them into a position where they would have that, a boy or a girl or whatever it was, with them. They would videotape it and use it later for blackmail.
And you recognize and know the members of Monarch individuals who might have been involved in the Omaha area?
I only have a few
Who are those people?
persons. Bill Plemons.
How do you spell his name?
Plemons. Works off of Offutt.
Is he employed by the United States?
I believe so. I'm not.
Bill Plemons is one of the individuals involved in training children.
He is a controller, yes.
Who else?
Locally, I don't know any more names that I can.
What about other than locally?
I said Colonel Aquino.
Anyone else?
There are others, but I would have to.
Do you need to call upon another personality to remember the others?
No. There are many.
There are many. That's what and I'd like to know who those individuals are.
Gary Ackerman.
And where does Mr. Ackerman live?
He is a congressman. I'm not aware of where he is from.
You don't know which jurisdiction.
No.
And you're saying that he is a controller and part of this.
He is not a controller. He is a lead of the conspiracy.
He's in charge of the conspiracy.
He's one of the leads of the conspiracy. I am not able at this time to access much more information because of programs that were purposely put into me to. I cannot place faces because they have programs that disallow that. They are simply erased, and they have also used means to insert other names.
Who programmed you?
Involved. I was programmed by Monarch.
Who?
That includes psychiatrists from Offutt Air Force Base.
Who is that?
I do not know. They never allowed us to know names except for our direct controller, which was Bill Clemens. I only knew of a Colonel Aquino because I was also involved in the Temple of Set.
When were you programmed?
I was programmed beginning in 1974.
Were you trained in the area of prostitution and homosexuality?
Yes,
And where did that training take place?
Offutt Air Force Base.
And did that also occur in 1974?
Yes,
And how long a period of time did that training last?
roughly 1974 until 1980.
So during those years, you received periodic training about homosexuality and about prostitution.
Yes.
Anything else that you've received training on?
Yes.
What?
How to photograph documents in my mind to be able to relate that information to deprogrammers at a later date.
Have you personally engaged in any spying?
Nothing that would be considered spying except for in training. I have not spied for them because my training was not complete. I was still learning.
Are they expecting that at some future time that you will engage in some form of spying or espionage?
Not anymore.
Why?
Because the program was discontinued when the program started to break down in 1986. My initial program was to, as a young man, get adults who were powerful political leaders into positions where they could be compromised.
That was your mission?
That was the initial mission. The whole mission was for me to go into the military service and become an officer. And a few years after that, retire from the service. Not retire after 20 years, but after 6 years. And move to Germany And then their initial plan to take over or to run the government was to put me in an ambassador spot. And then later to come back to the United States and to run for an office, and they would be the ones who controlled everything that I did.
So you would be an operative, so to speak?
I would be a puppet.
A puppet. And you say this plan broke down in 1986, but yet you told me that you still felt that you were under the control.
I am still under their control because I do not answer phones anymore because that's how they get the others to the triggers, is what I'll call them. They're not personalities. They contain no memories at all. They were put in as hypnotic suggestions and only come out when, as I said, a code is presented to them. And that happened several times in 1989, which is why Paul and Mikey's memories are so confused. At that time, they were attempting to destroy me because they were attempting to access suicidal personalities and other personalities that would get me in trouble with law enforcement. When they programmed the personalities, or the triggers, as I called them, they would call me up and they would use a code. I would simply switch into that trigger, go to where they told me to go, whether it would be or get on an airplane because they would already have the tickets there. They would have the tickets there under a name that only that trigger would know, and go to wherever it was. There would be somebody waiting for them in that city and take them to wherever it was that they were supposed to go, bring them back to the airport, put them on the plane. They would come back home, and as soon as they walked in the door, the memory of everything that had just happened would be erased.
Gone.
Completely.
And there we have it. That
Wow.
is evidence. And so I want to tie this into what's been going on today in our modern political atmosphere with all the assassination plots. All it would take is one of these MK Ultra victims to get a phone call where then they go and attempt to assassinate a president.
Right.
And it's interesting that every one of these assassins or assassination attempts are obsessed with the Epstein files, or at least that's what they claim, because they don't want you to be able to look at the Epstein files because they're going to say that creates radical extremists. But it's not radical extremism to traffic or be the person who benefits from trafficking of small children. We shouldn't be angry at that. We should be angry at the people who are reading the Epstein files and then going after these politicians for accountability for their bad decisions. And I'm not saying that that's our right to be a lone gunman or vigilantes, but the court system obviously has lost its ability to go after these individuals, because if you were going to do it, I mean, who did Ghislaine Maxwell traffic children to? She's in jail because of it. So obviously there's trafficking going on and they have the data. The problem is it's probably everybody in the good old boy club. I bet you. And my question is was Epstein then also a MK Ultra victim? Because after this whole situation with the Franklin trial, there's another bizarre trial called the Finders Cult. Have you heard of the Finders Cult?
Yeah.
And they were saying that they were trafficking children to a summer camp for the gifted. Do you know where that summer camp for the gifted was? New Mexico. And you know what? The Finders ended. The program for the Finders, which ended up being a CIA psyop, my buddy Derek Bros did a lot of the investigation into this, ended in 1992. You want to know what was really interesting that happened in 1992 in New Mexico is that Jeffrey Epstein purchased Zorro Ranch from the governor of New Mexico.
Wow.
So I'm wondering if Jeffrey Epstein just took over the whole MK Ultra project and he was trafficking, filming people, doing all the things because he was the perfect monarch. He's a perfect victim. Maybe he was an MK Ultra prodigy himself as a child.
Yeah, man, there was so much information in that one interview that were so telling when he mentioned that they were drugged and made to believe that they had alien and extraterrestrial experiences so that they could later be discredited. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. And the biggest bombshell was when he said that he would be groomed to be an ambassador at first, and then eventually he would be placed into a political position in the United States and be a puppet. And that's exactly what he was groomed and created to be. How many puppets are in control right now within our own political system?
How many?
It's pretty
How
crazy.
many MK Ultra slaves are in our government right now that will get a phone call and be involved in something and immediately vote a certain way or act a certain way? This guy was scared to pick up the telephone. I was going to say cell phone, but they didn't have cell phones back then. Imagine now how much easier it is for them. You know, they get a phone call, you get a miscellaneous call, you pick it up, they give you the code, you go and you take some pot shots at the president.
Well, there's probably many methods to get through to people now, not just a phone call, not just a cell phone, social media frequencies. They can probably bounce it off of cell towers and Wi-Fi. There's probably tons of ways that they can
voice of God weaponry. They
activate
can the code. They can activate the code right in your voice to skull. No one else will hear it. You could be in a crowd and all of a sudden you get the voice to skull message and you hear Eagle 543-62-5J. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger shooting everybody.
There's definitely an aspect of implementation that's happening right now on a mass scale as it relates to MK Ultra programs. I think we're all being mind controlled to some aspect. Will there ever be any accountability? Will there ever be any justice for any of these people? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like the information from the Epstein files and all the dark things that are coming out is just to slowly desensitize us so that we're just more accepting of the darkness and evil as it's revealed.
And that there'll be no accountability for those actions. And Chris Latreille, which was he was original Montauk boy. I got to interview him. Again, very similar story to what we heard in that Franklin trial. And I got to get him to admit to on air that he was involved in both child sacrifice with a group of additional individuals and cannibalism. And I asked him, have you been in contact with any of the other children involved in that program? And he says, yes. And they remember too.
Some of the stuff that these people are involved
who would believe
with
who would believe a child coming around screaming or all going cannibalism, they're eating the babies and they're sacrificing children? Who would believe that? That sounds crazy. And the alien ship underground and they get them full of drugs. Chris Latreille said every morning his mother would put acid in his mouth on his way to school.
Oh man.
And they identified him because he was obsessed and he liked, you know, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Star Wars and all the, and, you know, the Lord of the Rings, you know, they believe that's the witch's almanac. That's what the occultists believe to be a true story. If just listen to John Todd, if you've ever heard the story of John Todd, you know, the Jesus People movement, he was in charge of Zodiac Productions. That's like Columbia Records and I can't remember the other names of there's like 3 or 4 record labels that fall under this umbrella. And he said that what they would do is the reason why albums are recorded months in advance is because on a full moon or equinox, they would take all the vinyl upstairs and they would cast spells and demons into the vinyl and all the mass copies that followed it. And that would lead to its success of, you know, making money. And not only that, to consume the public who listens to it, to make it popular music.
You think at the highest levels, they really actively participate in this satanic stuff, or is it just used as a further psychological operation to have us believe that they're all powerful and they're doing human sacrifice and they're Satanists just to perpetuate a narrative to keep us looking in any other direction?
I mean, there is Bohemian Grove. I mean, I'm just saying, you got 2,000 to 3,000 of the most powerful elite going around doing mock child sacrifice. You got scientists in front of CERN doing mock child sacrifice. Does it work? I mean, who's in charge? I guess. I mean, I asked former top Satanist Eric Freeman. He handles the Anton LaVey and Crowley estates for those two families, which are both very prominent. As we know, we heard the Temple of Set a lot. But when I asked him, do these rituals and work, and he goes, look at who's in power.
Yeah.
And there was a guy just on, was it Joe Rogan's program? I think he worked with Quentin Tarantino, and he said there's over 8,500 Baal worshiping, Moloch worshiping people in Hollywood that still partake in sacrifice. And he said that every day some of them do sacrifices. And he said he can't name the names because he will be sued or dead. And you can go look at it. It's on Rogan. Like I'm sure the clip's out there if you just typed in, sacrifice Rogan guest, human sacrifice, animal sacrifice, whatever it is. Maybe Miley Cyrus is, sacrificing a chicken every morning. I don't know.
We are experiencing our childhood ends as society right now with the information that's coming out. It's extremely dark, and it can be difficult to experience this with no justice being served and no prospects of anything positive coming out of this stuff. So it's difficult enough to navigate, much less having to keep on experiencing these high impact events and this dark information with no justice that comes out of it. But
I was
going
to say the justice that does come out of it, they'll use to ban the subject. If somebody went and killed somebody in the Epstein files as known to be trafficking children, they'd say the Epstein files are dangerous and you can't talk about them because it leads to extremism. Not the fact that peddling children and taking advantage of small children is extremism, and not holding people accountable for crimes that are so big they feel they can't prosecute isn't extremism. No, it's the natural result of the human soul that says somebody that's evil needs to be held accountable. And I'm not saying anyone should be violent. I'm not saying anyone should go kill. I'm saying that there's a good chance they're manufacturing a lot of this anger, maybe with MK Ultra patients. These people are still alive. I'm interviewing them.
Well, we got a few minutes left. Do you have any final thoughts for the evening?
Well, it's very interesting to tie it all together and wrap a bow on it. It's not a very positive subject, but knowing is half the battle, like G.I. Joe used to say, right? G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle, Maybe learned how to turn the faucet off during Ninja Turtles when they did the, the social announcements or whatever. The main idea here is that our nation could be overrun by MK Ultra programs. There is over 169 different MK Ultra programs run for dozens of years. So there could be tens of thousands of monarchs out there, tens of thousands of abused children that are now growing up out there that at any time could receive a phone call, get a voice of God technology, beam to their skull, and then perform something that would jeopardize our freedoms and liberties here at home. I'm saying that whatever we see that is happening, we need to question it. Don't listen. Listen to everyone, question everything, and don't believe unless you can prove it with your own two hands. But I'm telling you, the reality and the metaverse that we live in is very different than the girls that are abused and get put in pornography because I interviewed one female and she refused to come on the record with me because she was her whole life, she said that other monarchs and other MK Ultra abuse victims, satanic abuse victims would then persecute her and come after her and try to do harm. And I believe that too. So when people come forward, well, then all of a sudden you got to worry about these guys who, remember the guy who shot Ronald Reagan? He forgot everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like MK Ultra? And who was in line to be president next? Bush. Who was in charge of the CIA at one point? Bush.
Right.
Who was at the JFK assassination? Bush. And who's listed in the Epstein files as doing human sacrifices? Bush.
Yeah. Absolutely wild, man. We live in some incredible times. Kristan, thank you so much. Before you go, remind everyone how to get access to all your content.
Yes, Friday, May 1st, we're doing a full-on 8-hour donation drive-a-thon. We're going to have Leo Zagami, former Illuminati, head of the OTO Satanists, on to talk about that. He's converted to Christianity. We're going to have on Also top Masonic historians to talk about the Illuminati. I'll be discussing it. We're going to be playing Myron C. Fagan's old vinyl, Council on Foreign Relations, Illuminati, William Cooper. It's going to be an 8-hour marathon of bringing information about May Day, May 1st, the day the Bavarian Illuminati was created, which in a lot of shapes and forms, the Rockefeller family and all these other groups that spawned from it, the Trilateral Commission, they're all Illuminati branches and arms of government that use satanic ritual abuse to control your mind. So tune in to therundownlive.com. Find me on Spotify, therundownlive.com, and we'll see you Friday, Ground Zero Plus, or you can get it anywhere social media is found, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, search The Rundown Live. Thank you for having me on again. I really appreciate you.
Right on, Kristan. Thank you so much. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. See y'all then.
Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. Hello, friends. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order.